for so many years. As I said, people are in the streets. There have been spontaneous demonstrations, people honking horns, shouting slogans, really just celebrating what they hope to be a new era in U.S.-Cuban relations.
The U.S. and Cuba announced the policy change almost simultaneously Wednesday, a deal made possible in part by a prisoner exchange. 2 people in Cuban jails in exchange for 3 in America's. And another reason to celebrate?
Cigars and rum should be flowing relatively soon. Travelers going back to the United States can now carry up to $100 worth of cigar and rums with them in their luggage.
Good afternoon. Today, the United States of America is changing its relationship with the people of Cuba. In the most significant changes in our policy in more than 50 years, we will end an outdated approach that for decades has failed to advance our interests, and instead, we will begin to normalize relations between our 2 countries. First, I've instructed Secretary Kerry to immediately begin discussions with Cuba to reestablish diplomatic relations that have been severed since January of 1961. Second, I've instructed Secretary Kerry to review Cuba's designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. Third, we are taking steps to increase travel, commerce, and the flow of information to and from Cuba. This is fundamentally about freedom and openness, and also expresses my belief in the power of people-to-people engagement. I do not expect the changes I'm announcing today to bring about a transformation of Cuban society overnight. But I am convinced that through a policy of engagement, we can more effectively stand up for our values and help the Cuban people help themselves as they move into the 21st century. Good evening. To the United States Corps of Cadets, to the men and women of our armed services, we did not ask for this fight. On September 11th, 2001, they struck at our military and economic nerve centers. As we know, these men belonged to Al-Qaeda. This is not class warfare. It's math. 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 When I was young, my family lived overseas, and my mother, she didn't have the money to send me where all the American kids went to school. But whenever I'd complain, my mother would just give me one of those looks and she'd say, "This is no picnic for me either, Buster. I've talked a lot about your government's responsibility for setting high standards. Every single one of you has something to offer. The future of America depends on you. If you quit on school, you're not just quitting on yourself, you're quitting on your country." My father left my family when I was 2 years old. I was raised by a single mom who had to work. There were times when I was lonely and I felt like I didn't fit in. There is no excuse for not trying, because here in America, you write your own destiny. You make your own future. But that is not what this moment calls for. That's not what we came here to do. We did not come to fear the future. We came here to shape it. I still believe we can do great things, and that here and now we will meet history's test. Because that's who we are. That is our calling. That is our character. Now we will meet.
Que sostuve ayer con el presidente Barack Obama, se ha podido avanzar en la solución de algunos temas de interés para ambas naciones. Esta decisión del presidente Obama merece el respeto y reconocimiento de nuestro pueblo. Quiero agradecer y reconocer el apoyo del Vaticano y especialmente del Papa Francisco. Decidimos excarcelar y enviar a Estados Unidos a un espía de origen cubano que estuvo al servicio de esa nación. Por otra parte, basados en razones humanitarias, hoy también fue devuelto a su país el ciudadano norteamericano Alan Gross. Hemos acordado el restablecimiento de las relaciones diplomáticas. Esto no quiere decir que lo principal se haya resuelto. El bloqueo económico, comercial y financiero que provoca enormes daños humanos y económicos a nuestro país debe cesar. Aunque las medidas del bloqueo han sido convertidas en ley, el presidente de los Estados Unidos puede modificar su aplicación en uso de sus facultades ejecutivas.
Today, the United States of America is changing its relationship with the people of Cuba. In the most significant changes in our policy in more than 50 years, we will end an outdated approach that for decades has failed to advance our interests, and instead, we will begin to normalize relations between our two countries. I've instructed Secretary Kerry to immediately begin discussions with Cuba to reestablish diplomatic relations that have been severed since January of 1961. Going forward, the United States will reestablish an embassy in Havana, and high-ranking officials will visit Cuba. Where we can advance shared interests, we will.
Make a historic visit to the island next month.
This is the first president to visit Cuba since Calvin Coolidge. As we've noted, Calvin Coolidge traveled there on a battleship, so the optic will be quite different from the get-go here.
Reaction from the highest-ranking Cuban-American elected official in the country and political thorn in Obama's side was swift and predictable. Before a dramatic wall of pictures of former Cuban political prisoners, Senator Bob Menendez blasted the administration for today's announcement.
It is totally unacceptable for the President of the United States to reward a dictatorial regime with a historic vista when human rights abuses endure and democracy continues to be shunned.
Despite the administration's warm overtures to the Caribbean island, the rhetoric from inside the Union of Cuban ex-political prisoners seemed to come directly from the Cold War era.
Cuba has been removed from the state sponsor of terrorism list, and an embassy has been opened. However, since these sweeping changes started in December of 2014, Cubans have been beaten, arrested, repressed at higher rates than ever before.
Rather than empowering the people of Cuba, Menendez says Obama's visit and his policy shift will do more to enrich and further entrench the Castro regime.
If he asked you to go, would you go?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm not going to be a party to everything I just suggested is wrong with the trip. If you're not going to really push for Joanne Chesimard and the other 50 or so wanted fugitives and cop killers, I'm not going to be a party to that. If you're not going to really meet with the leading human rights activists, political dissidents, and independent journalists, I'm not going to be a party to that.
Around here, where Cuban exiles and former political prisoners still live, the memories of the Castro regime and its jailing and worse of dissenters still evokes fire. 82-year-old Guillermo Estevez says he was in a Cuban jail for 19 years in the 60s and 70s.
That kind of regime, right, 90 miles from the United States, is inconceivable. So many years, and that everything that the President Obama and the group with Obama said about the Cuba is wrong. It's very wrong. They're going to fool him. They're going to foolish, right? Everybody.
The president's trip is set for March 21st and 22nd. No word on who, other than the First Lady, is expected to join him. It's clear, though, today that Senator Bob Menendez will not be one of them. In Union City, I'm David Cruz, NJTV News.
De la confrontación a los intentos de normalización, la política de Estados Unidos hacia Cuba, de los historiadores Elier Ramírez y Esteban Morales. Un libro que aporta documentos desclasificados estadounidenses y cubanos que descubren significativos elementos de la historia reciente. Una conclusión que se extrae de este libro es que la actual administración de Barack Obama es mucho más injerencista en los asuntos internos de Cuba que, por ejemplo, la de Richard Nixon o la de Jimmy Carter. La exigencia del presidente Carter a Cuba se centraban en las visitas a la isla de los migrantes cubanos en Estados Unidos o en la liberación de algunos prisioneros, pero nunca en un cambio del ordenamiento político cubano. Durante el primer encuentro secreto de la administración Nixon con el gobierno cubano, el representante norteamericano planteó que no pedirían que Cuba desistiera de su estructura interna o método de gobierno. Frente a estas posiciones, la actual administración Obama sigue apostando mediante lo que denomina empoderamiento de la sociedad civil cubana a la derrota del socialismo en la isla. Los documentos recogidos en el libro prueban, además, el repetido error de los gobiernos norteamericanos de ver en Cuba un satélite de la Unión Soviética. Ello impidió a Kissinger, Ford, Carter y Brzezinski comprender que era imposible quebrar la solidaridad de Cuba con los pueblos de África o con la causa de la independencia de Puerto Rico. El texto de una carta de Robert Pastor, miembro del Consejo de Seguridad Nacional de Estados Unidos, es sumamente elocuente. Los cubanos empujan a los soviéticos hacia posiciones de mayor riesgo que las que normalmente el viejo liderazgo soviético se hubiera aventurado a pisar. Otros documentos y testimonios hablan también del enfado de Fidel Castro con la invasión soviética a Afganistán, que rechazó desde el primer momento. De la confrontación a los intentos de normalización.